So I think that there's a tendency in this whole sustainability movement, or when we talk about resiliency, to try to make something fantastic almost from scratch. You know, give me the blank canvas as an architect or designer, and I'll give you the net zero, carbon neutral building if all the conditions are right. And I think what we need to do is really shift that thinking and say, actually, you know, the most sustainable building is the one you don't have to build, or the greenest infrastructure is the one that you just utilize more effectively. So with that change of mindset, now you're really changing the game in terms of assets that are things like, you know, streets and infrastructure, or existing social networks, or the existing capacity that maybe a community has, but hasn't had a platform for them to engage in urban issues. So broadly speaking, this idea of leveraging assets is a social one, it's a spatial one, it's a physical one, and it's something that demands a change of mindset about what it means to be, you know, truly sort of sustainable, and focusing more on sort of the messy parts of optimizing and making more efficient rather than just building new. A good example of really how you leverage assets, talking about it more concretely, is, you know, this work that we've done in New York, actually, where it was a question of there was underutilized street space, you know, all these intersections where Broadway crosses the grid that were being utilized as traffic islands. And so, you know, we were able to, with the city and many other people, help reimagine what that space could be, reconfigure traffic a bit, attach some of these islands essentially more to sidewalk spaces or to the building edge. So repurposing and reappropriating space is a real key. You know, that's much easier and much more doable, like you say, than going out and purchasing new land. But it requires a different set of glasses, or a different optic of how you're seeing streets, how you're seeing your city, and sort of imagining, you know, having the courage to imagine that traffic island being something different, and then creating the right spatial conditions for it to be something different. And what we've seen in the case of New York is that if you carefully choose those areas, then it's just like a canvas, you know, waiting, inviting for local creativity, entrepreneurship to come and occupy it. The minute it's there, people gravitate to it. Streets are the most underutilized public asset, I'd say, in cities. You know, they're typically 20% of all the space of the city. So thinking about them much more multifunctionally, much more in terms of a place, as well as a really important transportation corridor. That's probably, you know, streets are the top one. I think there's all sorts of aspects of that, right? Whether it be like right-hand slip lanes, or underutilized sidewalk space. You know, you could sort of go in even more granularity to zoom in on particular opportunities. But again, I think to see them, you have to be, you know, first get your head around that as an asset, and then start to, you know, as we talk about, really focus on the behavior and use patterns of a city. So really try to see from eye level, from people's perspective, and be aware of how people are or are not using some of their assets in the city.